Welcome, fellow relationaries, to Safe Conversations, dialogue that transforms workplace culture. I am Lori Reichel Howe, and I am delighted that you are listening in to today's webcast. Before launching in, let me just give you a heads up that this will really be a fire hose presentation. I will cover a tremendous amount of information in a short amount of time. So please put aside any task that would distract you from engaging and be fully present with me. Turn off your email, silence your cell phones. I want you to see how Safe Conversations training can transform your workplace culture. Now, I called you relationaries, and here's why. You are the very heart of organizations. You care about people, workplace culture, and you completely get it. You understand that employees are the most valuable asset within an organization. Yet as a relationary, you are at risk. And you are at risk because I suspect you are the one who is contacted when workplace communication breaks down, when working relationships are strained, and when conflict escalates. If the 911 call is made to you, if you are brought in, then you are at risk. While you do what you can to get parties to communicate, you typically ask them, hey, have you communicated your concern with the other party? And they always respond, of course, but it's completely the other person's fault. They won't listen. They don't see it. And they want you to either fix the problem or get rid of the other person. Well, workplace reality puts you smack dab in the center of conflict. That's because in the workplace, conflicts are inevitable. They are natural occurrences that are experienced in every human group, including the family. Most of us spend more time with the people we work with than the family that we live with. With whom do you spend the majority of your time? And how do people respond to conflict at your workplace whenever someone or something is standing between their achieving their goal, meeting their deadlines? That's conflict. Or how about any time someone perceives and believes that they are being treated disrespectfully or devalued? That's conflict. But it's how people communicate at these times that determines whether conflict will be escalated or de-escalated, whether relationships will be strengthened or destroyed, or whether workplace will be safe or unsafe. Tell me, do you see any of these unsafe workplace signs at your workplace? Starting with negativity. What kind of water cooler talk is happening? Are you finding that people complain about each other or about others or about issues? And that they complain to other people, not talking with the people with whom they have the concern? Have you ever had a workplace environment where you'd give anything to escape the negativity, the gossip, the constant complaining? Have you thought, oh, if only I could become invisible or work in a cubicle away from everyone or work from home? Have you dreaded stepping into a workplace environment or a department? Okay, think back in your career. Have you had a dictator manager? One with a my way or the highway mentality. These managers are the reasons why it's said that employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. You see, employees don't stick around when managers dictate instead of engage, when they shame and blame. How about this? Have you ever worked in a non-supportive environment or with non-supportive people? Oh, how about being given a project to complete without the resources or support that you need to complete that project? Have you worked with someone who promises to support you and claims that they have an open door policy, yet when you request time and support, they are unavailable or unresponsive? Have they even told you that you need to own your own success? Well, that is so frustrating to be told you own your own success when the issue is lack of accountability. Do you know what it's like to work with people who promise and yet don't deliver? And when you confront them, they refuse to take ownership. If your answer is yes, you know the frustration and the hopelessness of being dismissed or the anger of being told that you need to be more supportive or positive. Have you seen what it's like when missed deadlines, performance gap, inappropriate behaviors are not addressed and what they do to morale? Gosh, this Me Too movement is a wake-up call to accountability. It's too bad that managers are told to hold people accountable, but not trained on how to have an accountability conversation. And have you worked in a place where serious communication problems exist? Maybe work diligently on a project just to get thrown under the bus because the project wasn't to somebody's liking. Or else you discovered halfway through a project that expectations were changed, but interestingly enough, not communicated to you. How do you tell your manager or director that mind reading was not listed as a qualification on your job description? How many times have you wondered, why didn't it cross anyone's mind to consult with me before committing me and my team to a deadline? Well, when there is a lack of communication and unclear communication, your workplace is unsafe. So, who am I? Why am I talking about this topic? Well, once again, I'm Lori Reichel Howe, and I am founder of Conversations in the Workplace. I equip managers and teams to have safe conversations. Safe conversations are transformative dialogue that uncovers hidden workplace issues. That's because when those issues are discussed and resolved, there's greater innovation, inclusion, collaboration, performance within organizations. Well, I leverage over 20 years of communications and relationship management in addition to training and development. I'm a professional mediator and conflict coach, and I am an author. Now, what do I do? See what these two people are doing? I train people to dialogue directly with the person with whom they have concern or an issue. I show them that it's possible to safely dialogue without rattling sabers, shouting ultimatums, or by destroying the dignity of another human being. It is my passion to help organizations deliver and develop a workplace culture where people love where they work and love the people with whom they work. I do this through safe conversations. So why safe conversations? Well, the way employees communicate will make or break an organization. What do people need to carry these out? Well, people require both skills and language in order to engage in open, constructive conflict. You see, knowing how to navigate through conflict is not natural or instinctive. It is a learned and developed skill, learned through training, coaching, and practice. Now, some organizations put a lot of time, effort, and money into things that are absolutely ineffective in changing behaviors. You see, to change behaviors, knowledge does not transform. Have you worked with people who are intellectually or technically brilliant, and yet they drive you and others crazy? Knowing informs, it doesn't transform or change behavior patterns. Company policies, nope, they are not adequate. They communicate expectations, but they do not train people how to dialogue with others when those policies are not maintained or when bad behavior is demonstrated. Okay, what about expectations? Again, it will not transform. Without training to meet the expectations, expectations become a breeding ground for frustration, disappointment, and resentment. You see, we do not arise to expectations at time of conflict. We fall back to the level of our training. Only training transforms. And today, I will give you a communication framework and the language you need for safely addressing workplace behaviors that negatively impact workplace culture. Now, the framework that I am going to give will have 6 components, and I'm going to give you the language that one needs to carry out each of those components or strategies. You see, we don't really have skills or tools until we have the language for making them happen. Effective training does not tell people what to do, it shows them how. And I give people the language they need. And that's because addressing issues is hard and it's risky if it's not done well. Our human nature and innate tendencies at times of conflict only complicate things. We typically do one of 2 things. The first is flee, or we take flight, or we just avoid. When opinions differ and when emotions are strong, it's human nature to back away and avoid saying anything out of fear that we could make matters worse. Unless we are trained to communicate in these challenging situations, it's really risky. How do we avoid? Well, change the subject. We don't attend meetings. We don't respond to emails. People are silent when bad things or wrong things or injustice happens. We ignore. What we don't recognize is that behaviors we avoid addressing continue and escalate. Even so, if workplaces are unsafe, people are silent, or else people fight. Now, they don't slug it out, and not physical fighting, but they fight with arguing, gossip, complaining, sarcasm, biting remarks, accusations. If you felt threatened by someone's words, it's likely that's because they were fighting words. And there are 3 forms of workplace fighting that are absolute culture killers. They kill the culture, they kill relationships. The first one is absolute. That people who have this, I'm right, you are wrong, my way or the highway attitude. Have you heard any of these fighting phrases at your workplace? Why can't you do things the way I told you to? How about, it won't work, it's been tried before. Or, this topic is closed, end of conversation, no more. A second form of workplace fighting is attack. Have you ever felt at risk of being attacked? Bosses who personally attack the character and intentions of employees commit cultural killer number 2. See, it's not the character and intentions that we want to address. It's the behavior, what someone did, what someone didn't do. And behaviors can be addressed without attacking people and without blaming, telling people it's all your fault. Have you ever been the target of blame, thrown under the bus? And how often are the people who blame the ones who are not dealing with the real issues, are open to acknowledging what they own in solving these problems? When behaviors are not addressed, workplace culture erodes. And when behaviors are wrongly addressed, workplace culture erodes. Well, what are these behaviors costing organizations? Unmanaged employee conflict is perhaps the largest reducible cost in organizations today, and probably the least recognized. Let's look at some of the costs. Wasted time, low performance, you're not getting engagement, reduced quality of decision making, attrition, are people leaving, and health of workers, of managers, of the culture, the entire health of the organization. Let's take a look at the impact these broken relationships and unresolved conflict and the percentage of impact they have on organizations. Let's start with relational breakdown. Calculate, estimate some percentages with me. What do you believe is the percentage of all difficulties in organizations that come from strained relationships? Not talking about skills, not talking about deficits or motivation, just strained relationships and the difficulties they create. Okay, got your percentage? 65 to 80%. What about cost of wasted time? Managers spend how much of their time responding to workplace conflicts? 25 to 40%. That's 1 out of 4 days, 2 out of 5. That's a lot of time. What about lost performance? Organizations can lose up to what percentage of their potential performance just because leaders and employees are unskilled or untrained at stepping up and addressing issues? Okay, have your number? 80%. Where did your number fall? Another cost? Decision making. Decisions made under conflict situations are always inferior to decisions made when cooperation exists. Research that I read just recently said that decisions made and implemented when unresolved conflict is going on, they end up costing companies 50% of the implementation cost of the decision made. Whoa. Have you ever been baffled by the poor decisions made at your organization? What about attrition? What does it cost to replace an employee? Consider lost productivity, recruiting cost, interviewing, training of the employee that left and the employee you're bringing on. 150% of the annual compensation. Thank you, Raytheon, for that statistic. You see, unresolved conflict is identified in half of the voluntary departures. Again, employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. So what's my solution? Equip managers and teams to have safe conversations. What does that look like? What have I developed as far as a framework for safe conversations? Well, take a look at my chart. It has 6 components, beginning with communicate desired outcomes, to communicate the issue of concern, the impact, inviting that individual to talk with you, and asking for an agreement moving forward. That's where you bring about change. It goes beyond arguing. Notice smack dab in the center, I've positioned acknowledge and clarify. That's because every time a conversation breaks down, people become defensive or accusatory. Acknowledging and clarifying is a way to bring safety and remain in dialogue. Now, while I've positioned all of these components in a circular fashion, conflict is not necessarily circular. But this is a good way to begin to practice it, to see the connection. And it's important to see that each of these components is necessary in really getting to the root of problems and moving forward to change. Let me show you how one can address a common workplace issue using this framework. And since missed deadlines are a common problem that managers and teams need to address, here is a scenario. We have a team that is planning an off-site leadership retreat for the executive committee. They've had their first meeting. They've assigned tasks, and the tasks are to be completed within a week and reported at the next meeting. Alex, who was at the team, had the task of securing a location. Now, here's the issue that Brenda, the manager, needs to address with Alex. Alex did not attend the meeting, and she did not communicate first that she wasn't going to be at the meeting or any progress that she's done on obtaining a retreat location. Now, let's see how this manager, Brenda, engages in conversations, opens it up by beginning with communicating the desired outcomes she wants for everyone involved. Listen to how Brenda communicates what she wants, and notice what she wants for Alex, for herself, and for stakeholders. Here we go. Alex, I want you to be recognized and respected for your contribution to the team. I want to be able to count on you to meet your deliverables. And I want our team to plan a successful retreat for managers. Okay, how did Brenda come across? Is she a manager you can trust? Do you get a sense that she is committed to success for others and not only herself? Next, she will move into communicating the issue of concern. Watch what language she uses to specifically identify what Alex didn't do, how she describes that gap, what she expected, but yet what she observed or received, and how she uses an I statement and does so without attacking. Here you go. Alex, I was counting on you on attending yesterday's meeting and updating us on the location you secured for a management training retreat. Think about how much more effective and non-accusatory was Brenda's I message than you statements such as, you let me and the team down. Boy, that comment would have taken the conversation sideways. Now Brenda moves to communicating the impact of the issue. How does she identify the consequences of Alex's unmet expectation? Let's look. When you miss a meeting and do not update us on your deliverable in securing a retreat location, we are unable to move forward and our progress is delayed. Were you clear of the consequence? Think, how and why did Brenda use the word we? Any chance that that's effective in maybe building team awareness? And how much different this conversation would have sounded if Brenda told Alex, because you didn't do your job. Again, sideways conversation that's only going to lead to an argument. Next, what Brenda wants to do is get Alex to engage, to talk with her. Again, we want a dialogue, not a monologue, not a lecture. So listen to how Brenda asks a non-defensive question that invites Alex to share her perspective. Is there a challenge you've faced, Alex, in meeting this deadline or additional support you've needed? In getting to the root of this issue, how much more effective it is to ask a question versus hurling an accusation. Again, imagine a different approach. If Brenda would have asked, why didn't you deliver? What went wrong? And why did you let me down? Now, as we move on to see how Alex responds to Brenda's question, notice in the conversation where Alex's information and dialogue moves from discussion to accusation. This week, Brenda, the director of HR told me to begin an investigation immediately. I was to put aside all other work until the investigation was completed. You seem to be clueless of how packed my work schedule has been this week. Why don't you cut me some slack? Okay, did you see it? Did you see where the breakdown occurred? See that dangerous word? Clueless. There it is. Our human tendency is to fight back, defending oneself. But Brenda is trained in safe conversation. She makes it safe by staying in dialogue, and she does this by acknowledging Alex's concern and still clarifying what is not her intention, the clueless, and what is her intention and her need. Watch how Brenda acknowledges Alex's concern and reframes to a different word, and how she clarifies what her intention is, along with what she needs and expects of Alex. Here we go. I don't want to be unaware of your workload or new assignments given to you. I do want to be informed when a new assignment puts deadlines at risk. Okay, did you hear it? Brenda acknowledges Alex's concern, and instead of repeating the word clueless, she avoids toxic verbiage and instead inserts the word unaware. And that would have been a better word for Alex to use in voicing her concern. So in doing that, Brenda's just modeled a better way to talk. Then she returns to the expectations she has regarding deliverables and communication in regards to those deliverables. One thing that Brenda doesn't do is throw the director under the bus. She keeps that conversation for a later one with the supervisor, but she stays in a conversation with Alex to let Alex know what she owns when something like this happens. Now, watch how Brenda moves forward and asks for an agreement on future behavior as she asks for an agreement moving forward. Here we go. How will she describe the behavior she wants and ask for a commitment and make it measurable? Alex, I understand that when investigations arise, they will be a priority. When this happens, I need you to inform me. May I get your commitment moving forward that you will communicate with me when a new assignment puts your deadlines at risk? Whoa. Brenda gets it. She knows that unless agreements and commitments are made moving forward, behaviors continue. See, arguing and conversations that end in arguments, they don't move forward because it's just attack or defensiveness going back and forth. And that's how we get burnout. Burnout doesn't occur when people are solving problems. It occurs because people are dealing with the same problem over and over again, and they do not move into the moving forward. Can we get an agreement on what will or what needs to happen? Now, when unsafe behaviors occur at your workplace, and when you are seeing a sign of unsafe workplace, you might be seeing this, because these are all signs. Gestures, disrespectful comments, that whatever, interrupting, ignoring, excluding, dismissing concerns, name calling, complaining, criticism, sarcasm. When blaming is there, it's unsafe. Shaming, blaming. And when people are dominating conversations, that fighting behavior. In addition, performance issues and concerns erode workplace culture. Unmet commitments, expectations, missed deadlines, lack of communication, or lack of follow through on projects and assignments. The opposite occurs when there are safe conversations that respectfully address issues and behaviors. Here are results and the benefits of training in having safe conversations. Decrease in time loss, attrition, absenteeism, and health costs. What increases? Performance, team effectiveness, improvement in the quality of decisions, innovation, inclusion, collaboration, job satisfaction, and there's a buy-in and a commitment to mission. People are safe to give input. They can believe in what they can contribute to and what they can influence. Before closing out this website or this webcast, I want to share with you some of my resources. If you go to my website at conversationsintheworkplace.com, you can access different articles that I've published. Right now, you can access workplace words that wound, divert disaster, delete that email, and dialogue. And today, I promise you, skills for carrying out safe conversations are learnable. I know they can be learned because I train people to have them. I help organizations, help teams and managers, individual contributors by developing strategies for effectively talking, listening, and collaborating in situations where opinions differ. I help them build more productive manager-staff working relationships. These increase employee performance, team productivity. I can help establish cohesive and collaborative teams and to create a workplace culture in which teams love to work. Now, rest assured, I get it. Transforming workplace culture is hard. Giving people strategies, tools, and a language for calling out behaviors that break down relationships and erode culture is darn hard. And it can be a lonely journey with limitations for HR professionals who are trying to achieve this goal alone. It's easy to feel like you are failing and your efforts are insignificant. Because I am passionate about having people love where they work and love the people with whom they work, I've created a training program that helps managers and teams develop the skills and the dialogue that transforms workplace culture. Now, realizing that this webcast, while informational, is not transformational, I'd like to give you the option, availability of connecting with me. So if you'd like to partner with someone in developing a workplace culture where people love where they work and love those they work with, please visit my website. Here it is, www.conversationsintheworkplace.com. Hit on that Let's Talk button. That will lead you to this schedule where you can request a 30-minute complimentary consultation with me. Pick the day and time that works for you. I would love to connect. I would love to be a part of helping you and supporting you in transforming your workplace culture. I understand that every transformation begins with a first step. And I firmly believe that safe conversations can transform your workplace culture. I'm also confident that we relationaries need to stick together. In closing, remember that workplace cultures are built one safe conversation at a time.